Good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tim Kirby Russia, where I, Tim Kirby, let's just say, media expert of American origin in Russia, tells you how the world looks through a Russian lens. Anyways, today's big topic today is P. Diddy and Zelensky, or Zelensky and P. Diddy. How are these two men connected? Are they connected at all? Not really, but I'll make a connection between them in this live stream because it's I have some hopium and copium based theories in my mind that I think I'll share with you. You may find it interesting, you may not, but anyways, you come here for weird information, not standard information. For standard information, you can go watch ABC Nightly News. Anyways, we're on our usual live stream rules. If you guys want to type messages anywhere here live on Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore on Telegram, do it. I'll see them. They appear in a place called the chat, and there's also a raise your hand feature. So if anyone wants to raise their hand, they can call in later, and we'll take the call, and it'll be amazing. But that'll be after my spiel. So here we go, guys. P. Diddy and Zelensky. Two people who are in deep, deep trouble. Two people who are, let's just say, the enemies of a lot of people. Now, I bring up Zelensky because recently we've covered on this channel that it looks like perhaps the Pentagon stepped in and told Zelensky, you know what, we're not going to give you missiles for long-range strikes into Russia. That might trigger World War III or something, and we're not going to do that. But he didn't seem to give up hope, and he has gone on another, Euro-American tour or whatever, mostly Euro. Maybe entirely Euro. Did he go to the United States? I don't know. But anyways, he's been going on tour again, as he does from time to time, to get more support. And by support, it's usually money and or weaponry. Okay? So that's what his mission has been. So, he was trying to get to go again and talk to Starmer. And again, because he's British, everyone wants to call him Stammer, but I see that R in his fucking name. He's Starmer. Or saying it the American way. Well, the second R. But anyways, he went to Starmer and was like, look, man, give me the missiles. And as of today, I saw on our buddy Joaquin's channel that he has been rejected yet again. And this time it was the Western mainstream press that confirmed this. And that article was what? From the Daily Telegraph, very official news from England. Starmer tells Zelensky Storm Shadow will not win the war. And since it won't win the war, I guess you're not going to get it. That's the sort of logic. So it's not remember, because they could never say, well, you're not going to get these missiles because it could start World War III and, there'll be a strike back from the Russians, because that would imply that Russia has strength. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to say here that, it won't win the war. That's nice and vague. It doesn't accomplish anything. But one of the other things that's interesting about this is saying that a weapon won't win the war is, if we remember, guys, we've been in sort of this cycle where at first it was like the Javelin missiles, I think, were the first wonder weapon. And then it was like, the Leopard tanks. And then it was the Abrams tanks, or at least the version of the Abrams they got. Because I know, don't kill me, I know the Abrams that Zelensky got are not exactly the same as the ones that would be used by the U.S. military. Okay, I know they're a little bit different. Then there was like the F-16s. But basically there's been a large waiting list of these wonder weapons, and each one is supposed to make a huge difference, and it doesn't. Okay, so the interesting thing is when you hear, not only does Starmer say no to the Storm Shadow, but he says not that it won't win you the war. And that's interesting, because if he's kind of implying that wonder weapons won't win the war, is he implying that it's over? That there is no next thing, besides beyond the F-16, there's nothing. That's the end of the road. Is that what's happening? Because that choice of words, I have a strong feeling that at the Daily Telegraph, this interesting choice of words was not random. It was not just something that they sort of whipped out there when it comes to this sort of stuff. So it's very interesting. In fact, let's read what, it's from Intel Slava, not Joaquin, sorry. So they said, it's actually a quote. Starmer tells Zelensky, Storm Shadow won't win your way. reads the headline in the Daily Telegraph following the meeting between Ukrainian president and the British Prime Minister. London has already stated that it does not give Ukraine permission to strike deep into Russia with its long-range missiles. The Daily Telegraph quotes British government officials as saying the Storm Shadow strikes on Russia alone will not allow Ukraine to win the war. Here, and a quote within a quote, no war has ever been won with one weapon alone, and in particular with regard to the Storm Shadow. The UK government's position on the use of long-range missiles has not changed, end quote, Downing Street said, the publication reports. So again, one weapon alone will not win you the war, Zelensky. That's an interesting precedent to set, isn't it? And this ties into... Oh, and also in further news from Intel Slava, Slovakia will no longer help Ukraine with weapons since they apparently no longer have them. Is that the truth? Or is that a lie just to not support Zelensky because Fico hates this whole Ukraine war? I don't know. But the fact is, Slovakia is going to kind of take this risky move and sort of be the first, NATO member, EU member to be like, you know what? We're not going to do this at all anymore, or even pretend. And we're going to see what happens to us. So who knows? Maybe Fico will get shot 5 more times. But anyways, interesting news about Slovakia, and again about maybe perhaps the first domino to fall, because again, if Slovakia can just say, we're out of everything, we're just out, we're not going to support you, whether that's true or not, because sometimes people in politics lie, Hungary could say that, and then someone else, and then, long story short, one day Italy's like, you know what, we don't have any more a weapon, we give everything away, something like that could happen. So I just wanted to do this live stream because these two posts, again from Intel Slava, sorry Joaquin, your channel is great, but this is actually from Intel Slava, I think they're very telling, and they're very telling that this thing is on the wind down. And this all again ties into, don't worry, we'll get to P. Diddy, we'll get to him. This all ties into my, again, possibly hopium-based prediction that after the election, if the Democrats win, they're just going to walk away from Project Ukraine. If Trump wins, it's going to create this weird thing where Trump's going to want to stop it, but the Democrats are going to fight it just because Trump wants it. But then again, it might happen anyways. So I'm not quite sure what will happen if Trump wins. But if Kamala wins, I think they're just going to memory hole this and move on to something else, because boy, does Netanyahu need support. If we can believe because guys, I'll tell you what, when you listen to channels like Judge Napolitano, when these people talk about stuff related to Russia, I know when they're bullshitting and when they're not. Okay, that I can read through that. Now, when it comes to Israel, no. And when it comes to the whole Middle East and stuff, your old buddy Tim is not an expert and can be fooled. But anyways, the experts who've been telling the truth about Russia and the truth about the conflict in Ukraine are hopefully telling the honest truth about what's going on in the Middle East. And according to them, Israel is in a whole world of trouble, and they are going to need a lot of U.S. support that they've paid a lot of bribe money to get. Ironically, probably most of that bribe money is actually part of the money that the United States sends Israel every year. But c'est la vie, that is modern-day politics. So basically Zelensky's days might be numbered as being important or getting support, because the war in and around Israel is just going to become vastly more important. And also, I think from the standpoint of, say, propaganda and the future of NATO and the future of the military and all that, I think the Israeli-Palestinian conflict looks a lot better from an American standpoint. It's going to go back to fighting people of the sand rather than a competing superpower. And that will perhaps be more attractive. So the war in Israel has various different layers to it. But anyways, I just want to say the fact that Starmer has told Zelensky no storm shadows, and more importantly, that no particular single weapon can win you the war. The wonder weapon myth is now a false concept, according to Starmer. And the fact that Slovakia has just said, we're done, we're out. Those are two nails in the coffin. Those are two big nails in the coffin. We'll see what actually happens after the U.S. elections. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about something, again, P. Diddy. So we're going into, again, this what I've just said about Zelensky, that was all speculative. Obviously, only God knows what the future could behold, and I, again, could be completely filled with huge amounts of hopium because I live in Russia. I would really like there to be, for the war to be over and for no more people to die, even on the other side. Just no more death and get this settled. Trust me. But, I'm a human being, and who knows, maybe my emotions are getting in the way of my sense of reason, and there's no logical then reason to actually believe the things I just told you. So who knows, but I could be filled with hopium, but I think the evidence is pointing towards, at the very least, disinterest from the West, if not completely giving up. Again, because, if this was the beginning of the war and Slovakia refused to provide any help, I think I think things would be a little bit different, because they just sort of declared that, and so far no blowback. But anyways, so here's where we get into P. Diddy. So Zelensky is a man who's in deep trouble, and his sort of empire might be crumbling around him. And again, Zelensky has the problem of, since he was sort of within Ukraine, surrounded by the ultra-nationalists that will never give up, he essentially is sort of their, in a way, the victim of their lack of desire to surrender. But there's another person who has created a really bad situation for themselves, and that is rapper P. Diddy, also known as Sean Puffy Combs, as he was known when I was a teenager. And we can't really talk too much about what he did, but his crimes are of a deviant sexual nature, and some people say they even go far beyond the old Epstein thing, right? That he went, there's some stuff there that's even further. But what does this have to do with Russia? Because we tried to talk Tim Kirby Russia, right? Because that's what I know. Well, I do know that the foreign ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, who I've met numerous times, and she should recognize my face in theory, at the very least, she laid out a very interesting interview in Russian. Okay, so in Russian, very long, very detailed, maybe not even interview, more like discussion, perhaps, might be better, with a reporter from Sputnik. All right, and it was about the P. Diddy trial, or upcoming trial, or situation, or accused crimes. And I thought that was kind of weird at first. Like, usually we don't get a lot of discussion of when, bad celebrities in the West do something weird. I mean, because America is sort of the epicenter of everything since the end of the Cold War. Yeah, I mean, like, stuff can come up over here, like the Harvey Weinstein scandal. That was sort of in the news here, kind of. The Epstein one really was. Now, that one definitely hit the news. Perhaps, well, one thing because it's scandalous and horrific, but probably also because it makes Russia look good. We're the third Rome. That's Sodom and Gomorrah. We're the good guys. They're the bad guys. And you could say that on the surface, maybe that's why Ms. Zakharova decided to discuss this issue. Maybe it was a kind of thing of like, look, the West keeps demonizing us, but look what wealthy, elite celebrities are up to in the United States. These are the kind of people, because a lot of those wealthy elites are the kind of people who hate Russia. And if you know or remember, P. Diddy was involved in promoting, hyping voting amongst black voters, especially, or I should say hip hop fan voters, especially young black people, to vote for Democrat candidates, the exact Democrats who despise Russia and absolutely do not want to work with Russia under any circumstances. So this could be like on the surface, a sort of like, ha, we're the good guys, you're the bad guys, ha, you accuse us of X, Y, and Z. However, when push comes to shove, it's you who really commit crime. Something like that, But as I listened to the interview, a little bit passively, maybe a little bit too passively to talk about it on a live stream, but that's okay. Hey, sometimes you gotta cook food, and exercise. I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Wow, the Russian side really knows a lot about this particular event. And all these, Western celebrities. And again, hip hop is globally popular, but it's not super popular here. You know what I mean? Like only like the top tier people become famous in like the former Soviet Union. You have like, if you remember in the early 2000s, 50 Cent could do no wrong. He was like the king of rap, or Eminem, or I guess maybe Jay-Z. But even people who are like maybe not A-tier rappers who are globally famous, even like B-tier rappers, no one knows who the hell they are. Like Rick Ross, who's that? Lil Wayne, who's that? Like no one has any idea who those kind of guys are, who are ultra extremely successful, but not quite as successful as 50 Cent in his prime. So again, you're kind of sitting there and you're listening to this woman talk. It's just that sounded weird. That sounded insulting. Maria, I didn't mean it that way. I meant it. You were listening to this intelligent, respectful woman talk. There we go. That's better. And she's talking and describing all this, and I thought to myself, you know what? Huh. I wonder how a lot of this stuff got exposed. Did it just get completely exposed on its own? Or maybe, you know, they're starting to look into this thing. They being certain aspects of, like, the Russian side of things. Because there have been some, let's just say, big discussions in society. And the one good thing for people in the West is that in Russia, it's been concluded that the West constantly does horrible things to us. Us being the Russians. So that's how they see things, right? And this is why you're listening to Tim Kirby, Russia, hardcore. They do horrible things to us. But if we were to especially to the masses, but if we were to do horrible things to their population, they would rally around their horrible government and probably defend it because we're foreigners from the outside. And if we did anything bad to the normal people, it would be completely counterproductive, and so we can't do it. And so then the question amongst some intellectuals was, well, what could we do as a response to them killing our people? And one of them is, well, if there's anything people in the West hate, it's the elite in their countries. Do you see what I'm saying? Unfortunately, because of YouTube censorship, I can't really go too into the nitty-gritty details, but we're going to go with some implications. So see how that's going? All of a sudden, the Russian state apparatus knows absolutely everything about P. Diddy and all of his crimes, and really has them laid out. And I wonder how that happened. Do you really think that people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or in these various different intelligence organizations were really like, you know what, guys? Well, I know there's a war going on, but we've got to focus our efforts on Diddy because, that's where the real interest is. No, there's something more to this. So, I think the sort of let's just say secret that was very well kept for so long has exploded. Possibly, it's kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if some Russian people helped the first domino fall in this big mountain of fallen dominoes now. So that's what I wanted to say. And actually, we have a call from James, who is our fan of softball. Hello, James. Hello. You wanted to call in? The first half of my spiel today was less conspiratorial and or insane. The second part's a little insane, but hey, it's my job to report what I could believe to be true. James, are you here? You listening?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Basically, what I'm hearing from you is that there's a possibility, if we're just talking about possibilities, that Russia handed the USA the packet on P. Diddy and say either you're going to arrest him or this is going to the news outlets.
No, that would be an ultimatum. It wouldn't, because that would be an ultimatum where the logic would be, we don't like this person, and we'll do this. I think it wouldn't be about arresting him. It would just be sort of like, we've kind of gotten the tip off on this. We're going to release this, and we're going to start to punish the elite. It's sort of like a way to, because if you think about it, James, hold on, one sec. Now, I hear a lot of people in the comments section of everything I say, and they pick some people who are not nice. Okay, we have your Bill Gates and your George Soros. Who else maybe would be the Rothschild family? Okay, how would anyone actually be able to do damage to this type of person? Well, this
Right.
kind of
So
stuff.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So I think you have a great. I mean, it was a great theory about hurting the elites. I don't know if you're saying the foreign ministry said that or you're inferring that,
I'm
but
completely inferring it.
I
They never
think
said that during the interview
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
I was just surprised
right.
at how insanely detailed they research. Okay, so it's kind of like if tomorrow someone like one of these Anthony Blinken type gets up and says, "You know what? I heard there's a major divorce in Bollywood, and I'm going to tell you the history of all the rich people in Bollywood and why this divorce happened between two
Right.
celebrities." Like, who gives a shit? Why would you waste your time on that? Then I was like, why would you waste? Oh, maybe there is a reason they're not wasting their time. you know?
Well, yeah. Anyway, the point is that you mentioned that the U.S. got a tip. So the point is that are you saying that the Russian tipped off the USA?
Very possible. Well, let's just say certain forces within the USA to make this sort of go happen, because because again, um, how else do you really kind of punish the elite? It's sort of like a lawfare thing, perhaps, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
I really don't know.
Anyway, it's a good card to play in the geopolitical games. Just start to cause chaos within the elite.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and these kind of things definitely do. So, I don't know, but again, like I was just telling the audience, the good thing is I've heard in private, let's just say, closed door discussions that thankfully, seriously, everyone here who's important knows that if Russia were to do something bad to normies, average everyday people in the West, the entire West would like sort of, rally around that act, right? They would rally around that act and become an enemy of Russia for an entire generation, right? And all the work of trying to convince people that Russia is actually misunderstood and isn't the bad guy, and that, real politic isn't about good guys and bad guys and all this other shit, and that the multipolar world is about consensus. All that shit goes out the window. So they're like, no, they're absolutely convinced to never ever hurt normal people in any way.
Right. Can I ask you a question since I'm talking to you, Tim?
Yes.
As an American who lives in Russia, who is amongst many, myself included, that either have worked or work at RT, who's been sanctioned.
Yeah.
Uh, do you believe by reading the sanctions, the beyond the 7 individuals and the company listed as sanctions, do you believe it's illegal for an American to work at RT in Russia? Or do you think it could be defended by free speech to the Supreme Court?
Whoa, dude. Like I'll tell you again what I heard in a sort of semi-closed kind of discussion is people. We'll put it this way: the opinion of the Russian government is the West is totalitarian. That's your answer. So you're thinking in the dynamic of legalese, where if I there's this sort of legal gray area. If I do X, Y, and Z, I should be legally protected. They don't give a fuck. Like there's no scooting the rules. I would just say don't go back there. Don't leave
You
the
would say
country
don't
either.
go back there?
Pardon?
What? What would you say?
I would say don't go back there. Don't leave
Go back where?
to the United States or any other Western country.
Right. Okay. Well, I happen to be in Los Angeles right now,
You
but
are.
I live
Well,
in I live in Moscow. So I came here about 10 days
then I
ago
guess
to
they
wrap
don't
up a
care
couple of things.
about
Huh?
you, at least.
What?
I guess they don't care about you specifically. Then that's good.
Well, let's say they don't know if I have worked at RT in the past. So I don't even think they know that. But that's not illegal for me to have worked at RT in the past. But
In
going
theory,
forward, I'm sure you've heard about this RT sanctions. Have you heard about these RT sanctions
Well,
from
of
the
course, RT
government?
sanctioned. I think Margarita
Mhm.
Simonyan was like sanctioned from day one of the war.
Yeah. So there's two different sanctions in the last month.
Yeah.
So not all types of things, but two. Are you very familiar with those?
No, because I already have given up on ever returning to the United States.
All right. Well, anyway, for any employee of RT, it was the biggest sanctions from America yet, like in this whole sanction war.
Well, and what? Like, so again, this is one of the things. It's like, okay, so what are you trying to say? So that way, people should immediately quit their jobs at RT if they work there, or what?
Well, they actually didn't spell that out. Basically, the anybody giving conservative legal advice basically takes what the sanctions say, and then they also take a definition of a foreign national, and then somehow from another paragraph on the State Department government, and put the two together and say yes, then it's illegal. But on the two most recent sanctions,
Yeah.
they don't say anything about people working for RT. Yet the general thinking legally of conservative advice is that it's illegal, and I personally don't think it's illegal. So, um, to be honest with you, Tim, uh, not to be honest with you, Tim, uh, I wouldn't mind standing up on TV and saying "fuck you" to America and saying "sue me." I'm fucking live on
Well,
air.
you don't mean
Like,
America, you mean the government.
yeah,
Well, you got to be clear about this. See, this is the thing. Now, this is something you actually really need to be clear about. Is we don't say fuck America around here. We only are angry at U.S., especially U.S. foreign policy. I mean, stupid stuff within Washington is frustrating, but at least it's really the foreign policy stuff that's destroying the United States. And yeah, but anyways, so but here, dude, I don't. It's one of the things is you're kind of like when you're talking to me, you're trying to lead me somewhere, but I don't understand where you're trying to lead me. I could be just an idiot and not understand, but
well,
I'll put it this
we're
way:
not
is
trying to leak anywhere.
you're
I
not.
was first asking your opinion about the sanctions, and you didn't know about them, so we're
Yeah,
left without further topic.
because here's the thing: is people have different philosophical views on things. In fact, someone just wrote me a message the other day that I will not say who wrote it because we don't need to talk about it, but it ties into our conversation a lot. Um, Here's the quote: "Why do you have a low opinion of the justice system? I observed real disgust in your description." I think he meant my videos. Any insights? And so that's this person said this. We won't mention who they were, but the thing is I don't really I don't have faith in bureaucracy. So someone, okay, could say that they're in a situation where they're in some sort of like um, situation with like these sanctions where they're like, okay, well, this might look bad, but if I do this, this, and this to avoid the sanctions, I should be okay because I followed this, or I did this way, or I put this money over here rather than putting it over there. And maybe I've talked to this person, but I've never been paid by them. Like you get in this whole big thing of trying to obey their rules. But I would argue that they kind of don't give a shit. And if they want to hurt you, all they have to do, whether you're guilty or not, is take you to court because they'll destroy you financially. And because the one of the most violated portions of the U.S. Constitution, which is very unfortunate, and it's violated not just by the United States, by like almost all countries, is the right to a free, free and free lawyer. That one, but I mean a speedy trial. You're supposed to have a speedy trial, yet you can be stuck in prison or some other form of limbo for months, if not years. Look at Julian
Right,
Assange. You know what I mean? You can be really
Tim.
stuck out in
Right,
legal
Tim.
limbo for a long time. So even
Tim.
if you're listen, even if you're innocent, your life can be destroyed by sanctions.
Yeah, actually, for example, Margarita Simonyan, who
Yes.
is sanctioned by as NRT, my life would be as miserable as hers in Russia because I live in Russia, A, and B, she's sanctioned to hell. So I'm not worse sanctioned than her. I live in Russia. I will live as a free person with fucking. I guarantee you, the police will not be arresting me.
Well,
So there's going to be
why would the Russian police want to arrest you over something?
right. You're saying I could have a hindrance of lifestyle, such as behind bars for months, and I'm saying that's not going to happen.
No, that was something from the United States side of things. The Russians don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. So if I'm in Russia, I'll be free. I'm not. I don't run a
But you're
risk.
not there now, and apparently you're
Yeah.
going to go back and forth, right?
No, I'm just actually. I just had to tie up some things. I'm going back in 5 days.
Okay, well, this is again I'm a little confused here, but long story short, no, the Russian side isn't interested in RT employees. The sanctions list from the Russian side to the West all involves like your super elite, wealthy people and certain politicians who say horrible things. Probably Lindsey Graham, right? You know, but no, it won't involve you. But I'm saying is on the Western end of things. All you have to do is be accused of something. And if you're accused of something, your life is destroyed anyways because of the legal fees, because you may have to spend a significant amount of time in prison, and so on and so forth. There in the
Yeah,
West.
I don't. Yeah, I would not put myself at risk of being behind bars. So, as
Any
I've mentioned
the
to you,
fact that you live in Russia is a risk of being put behind bars. This is World War III. It might be soft, but we're in World War III right now, and it's
no,
Russia versus the
no,
West,
no,
or the
I
BRICS versus the
disagree with
West.
you. I disagree with you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the way I see things. This is a pretty direct indirect conflict between Russia and the West.
What I'm specifically disagreeing with is that you said the fact that I live in Russia could put me behind bars in America. I disagree with that.
Okay, then
That
we'll
there's
agree
no
to
way.
disagree.
There's no way I run that
It's just
risk.
like the
Which
one
which
thing
which
is, listen, is I have very little faith in people, and the only thing I do have faith in is if someone wants to hurt you because or make an example out of someone, all they have to do is accuse you, the cops take you, and then you're waiting 6 months to a year or maybe more to get that trial, and then you'll be innocent after losing a ton of money and who knows what other um your potentially your sanity in prison. You know.
well, I agree. Yeah.
Well, there you go. All right. Anyways, man, stay strong. But yeah, got to be here if you're gonna be here, man. All the best, dude. Okay. So I think I may have. I apologize, James, if you're still listening. I think I may have maybe misunderstood what you're trying to say, or. But again, the problem is I really have very little faith in like legalistic truth because I've known so many people have been let's just say on the bad end of lawfare that it's kind of hard to really have much faith in it. Yeah. Truth is a thing for God, not for lawyers and judges. Okay, let's see. Do we have any comments or do we have zero comments? Let's see in the comment zone. Okay, USA. I don't know what he's quite referring to there, but the USA as a whole and as a culture is okay. Certain aspects of the government are bad. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess that's it. If anyone else wants to call in, no one really left any messages today. Again, let me do a recap, and if we get more messages, we'll answer them or call in, and you can raise your hand. So, what I was talking about was the twofold that Zelensky not only got shut down again regarding the long range missiles, but he was told that no single weapon will win the war. That is a very good sign for the war coming to an end, as is Slovakia going completely unpunished for just backing off from providing any more support, just completely wiping their hand or washing their hands of it. Not wiping, you wipe after you wash, washing their hands of this whole thing and just letting it go. And on the other side, I just found it weird that the Russian government has so deeply researched this whole P Diddy thing just to talk about it when it has, in theory, from far away, zero effect on Russia. And again, to tell you that behind closed doors, they will never, ever, ever try to do anything to normies. That is not on Russia's plan list. However, I would not be surprised if after all the thousands of people who are Russian speakers that have died because of this war and the anti-terrorist operation, that took place before it in the Donbass, I would not be surprised if some revenge of one form or another would happen to people who are in the elite who might be especially specifically connected to such things. So there we go. Well, maybe we can hope that it's about in a month. Wow, in a month it'll be already post-election time. So let's just hope that number one, we're all alive for the post-election time, and number two, that this war will be basically falling apart in tatters, be very close to being over with by that point in time. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening to some mad, crazy, hopium based theories today. I'll see you in the next program.